Hello and welcome to this video. Well, this is the first video on the channel, and in this video I just want to talk to you a little bit about visual gliding and what Condor is all about. I am currently in the Southern Alps in Italy. I'm just about to start a little task, and during this flight I will try to convince you that, well, maybe you should try visual gliding, and maybe you should try to dive into the amazing world of Condor. I am currently flying south because that's where the start line of my task actually is. Looks like I'm already below the maximum starting altitude, but I'm not too worried about that because obviously I'm not racing against anybody. I just want to have a little flight. So, visual gliding. What is it all about? And maybe who should try it? Well, I think it's great fun, and I think visual gliding and Condor simulator could be useful for different people in different ways, depending on what you want to achieve in terms of your aviation or hobby or maybe training. So I think that we could probably find a couple of different groups of people who may think about using a simulator like Condor in different ways. I would like to start maybe with people who are thinking about flying gliders in the real world, and maybe are thinking about starting glider pilot training. I think Condor is really valuable, especially at the beginning of the training, because to be honest, the first couple of flights that you will have in your real glider with the real instructor are going to be about some basic skills and controlling the glider. So you are going to learn about the controls, how to use the stick, how to use the rudder pedals, because those are the two main controls that I use to control a glider. Maybe you will be introduced to air brakes during landing to find out what the effect of the air brakes is. But to be honest, those first couple of flights, although necessary, are not really that much fun, and are usually quite short, and in my opinion, a little bit of a waste of time. Because instead of having an arrow tow or maybe a winch launch just to focus for some time on basic skills like making a simple turn or finding out that by pulling a stick the nose of the glider comes up and the speed decreases, and then by pushing the stick forward the nose goes down and the speed increases. This kind of thing can be easily achieved in a simulator. Obviously, simulators are really important in real world. Nobody ever flies, let's say, an airliner, something like an Airbus, without first spending a significant amount of time training in a simulator. I don't really see why gliding should be any different. I'm quite happy to see that more and more gliding clubs arrives to the same conclusion, and there are more and more glider simulators being built by real gliding clubs. I think this is a very nice trend, and I hope that will continue. I personally know a couple of instructors, real world instructors, some of them really senior with many years of experience, and who also, those instructors are also actually actively flying Condor, and they highly recommend Condor as something that maybe beginner pilots could try to use initially to gain some basic understanding of what gliding is really all about, and how to control a glider. I also know a couple of people who've never, who had the first flights after spending quite a lot of time in flying virtually in Condor. And in those cases, my friends got a lot of praise from the instructors who were, pretty much saying that they would have never, ever, ever thought that these guys never actually flew real gliders before. Because, like I mentioned before, with a little bit of experience in Condor, they knew how to control a glider. So I would say that if you're thinking about starting real glider pilot training, or if you are now taking a course to become a glider pilot, I highly recommend Condor and flying in Condor to gain those necessary skills that every glider pilot needs to learn as soon as possible. Well, you may think, oh well, I'm already a very experienced glider pilot. I'm not doing any training or anything like this, so why would I play with this thing that kind of just looks like a video game? Maybe I will just, if I start using Condor, maybe I will just develop some bad habits. Maybe it will harm me in the long run. Maybe, I don't know, my flying will become less safe. Well, I don't think so. I think that it could be quite the opposite. Because in the real world, in majority of places, we just can't fly the whole year round. Usually, we've got a season, gliding season, and then when the winter comes, well, people become inactive and maybe a little bit rusty. So, to keep these skills, to make sure that our muscle memory stays current in terms of controlling the glider, I would also recommend using Condor and flying virtually during those long winter evenings where it's not really possible to fly real gliders. Apart from just keeping the muscle memory going, Condor has also many other uses for real glider pilots. For example, you can explore areas or maybe countries that maybe you will never get a chance to fly in real life. Like now, for example, I'm flying in Italy. I don't think that I will ever have a chance to fly here in the real world, but here I am. So, for example, if you are planning a little trip to southern France, you've never been there before, but you are thinking, okay, next summer I'm going to take my glider and just go to southern France and fly a little bit in the Alps. I think that flying in that region in Condor first could give you a very valuable experience. Flying visually, you can get familiar with the topography of the region. You can learn about to recognize the characteristic mountains. By doing so, you will just become more comfortable, more confident, and frankly, I think it will also be safer to fly in a particular area when you eventually end up there. For the first time in the real world, you can practice recognizing at what altitude you're supposed to be in different places to make sure that you reach a suitable landing spot. And Condor can be an excellent tool to familiarize yourself with a particular region. Apart from that, as you can see down there, I'm just using a little gliding computer there. If you are thinking about using a glider computer, something like this, a PDA in your glider, I don't think that it would be very wise to have to start flying with it in the real world without actually first practicing how to use it, so it becomes a second nature. So Condor and virtual flying is just ideal for that kind of training. You can set up your gliding computer in exactly the same way as you would do in the real world, and then you can just by flying virtually, you can take time and you can play with your gliding computer to make sure that when you start flying with it in the real world, you will not have to think too much about how to use it, that you will spend most of your time looking outside rather than fumbling with your equipment, which also should well greatly improve the safety of your flying. Another way in which Condor can be used, which is quite useful, could be to practice your kind of almost instinctive reactions to maybe some dangerous situations. So, for example, to practice a winch launch failure on the real airfield is usually a bit annoying because a glider ends up at the other end of the airfield. It needs to be brought back to the launch point. That takes time, and maybe in a day you could do, I don't know, a couple of launch failure practices, and that's about it. Well, in Condor, if you wanna practice those maneuvers, which are really important for safety, well, you can pretty much practice all day and have hundreds of launch failures to make sure that your reaction is always spot on. Of course, we should not forget that flying visually gives us an opportunity to see what it would be like to fly a really high performance glider. Well, I'm currently flying an 18-meter wingspan JS3. Well, this machine is not very cheap in the real world, but here I am, flying it visually and can enjoy, well, this super high performance glider. And of course, after landing, well, nothing will stop me from maybe trying something else, maybe Ventus or maybe EB29. So it's also nice to see what kind of performance those gliders can actually achieve, and what is it like to fly something like this compared to maybe a club class glider. So I talked a little bit about how Condor can be useful for people who are just starting with the real to learn how to fly gliders in the real world. I've also discussed how this could be useful for experienced glider pilots. But you may be thinking, oh well, I'm not really into gliding. I don't particularly like, I don't want to learn how to fly gliders in the real world. Or maybe there is some sort of a medical condition that are stopping you, or conditions that are stopping you from fulfilling your dreams and maybe flying gliders in the real world. Well, that's another use case for Condor and virtual gliding. So, if somebody is not fit to fly for whatever reasons, well, you can still enjoy this beautiful sport of gliding, especially having a little bit of equipment, which I don't want to get into too much in this video. Maybe I will address it in one of the future videos. But with just a little bit of equipment, gliding visually can be pretty fulfilling and feel quite realistic. Well, that just reminded me about another very important use case for real glider pilots, which is getting yourself ready maybe for your first gliding competition in your life, or maybe even if you are an experienced competitor, maybe to try some new strategies while racing. Condor gives us an opportunity to test the theories, like for example McGreedy theory. You can try what would be like what the result would be if you try to fly too fast or maybe too slow during the task compared to your average climbs and see what will happen. In the Condor community, there's quite a few virtual pilots who can be well very fast. So I can assure you that you will definitely have a challenge to compete with them. So if it's if you are preparing for a first ever gliding competition, or if you are already an experienced competition pilot, I think that Condor again could be useful for training. Of course, again, that brings us once again to the point of exploring new area. You can get a better feel for some mountain passes, for example, in the region. You could gain a little bit of experience of by learning how high you need to be in different places to be able to cross the mountain ridges. And later on, when you try to fly in the real world, I'm definitely, well, I'm confident that that would improve the safety of your flying. Well, but racing is not just for people who race gliders in the real world. Like I said, even if you don't have any plans to fly gliders in the real world, there is the whole side of virtual gliding, which is purely about competitions and just racing other virtual glider pilots. This could be great fun. I know many people who do not have any plans whatsoever to fly gliders in the real world, but they enjoy virtual racing. They are very competitive, and that's another thing that you could try if you've never thought about virtual gliding. There is something magical about flying a glider because it's well, glider continuously descends. So if you want to stay up, you need to find the ways to climb, and well, this could be achieved in many different ways in Condor, by finding a thermal or by using the ridge lift or wave, which are the main thing, well, the main ways of gaining altitude in the real world as well. And well, performing well in a race, that requires a lot of skill, a lot of decision making, and there is a lot of people in the gliding community who enjoy racing other virtual glider pilots, who regularly participate in competitions which are organized pretty much all the time, but mostly during the winter. We are just about to start another virtual gliding season. There will be competitions popping up, and people are going to have lots of fun. Of course, there is also a social aspect of virtual gliding. Most virtual glider pilots talk to each other on voice chats using TeamSpeak or Discord, and it's just great fun to meet a bunch of guys who are always very welcoming and willing to help newcomers, and just spend a nice evening chatting to all sorts of different individuals, having fun, racing, having a bit of a laugh. Well, without really spending too much time driving to the airfields, taking the gliders out, and all the other necessary steps that unfortunately we have to do in the real world if we want to have a glider flight. Well, I've completed this little task. Of course, this was really easy. I started very high in this 80-meter glider. There was a quite strong wind from the south, so all the ridges that I flew along maintained pretty much my altitude. But that was not the point of this video. Again, I just wanted to introduce you to visual gliding, and I hope that, well, you found it interesting, and I hope to see you in the visual skies of Condor. I don't want to make this video too long, so that's going to be it for today. Well, please let me know what you think about this sort of content. Thank you very much for watching, and bye bye. I will hopefully see you in the next video.